So today is our day 2 for the conference. Yesterday, we heard from Sesha Prabhu on creating a revolution, changing a worldview towards education. Had a very lively discussion towards the end of the day, where several of you gave your own viewpoints, and all spheres of activities of a philosophical institution, including education, should be penetrated from the philosophy. And we have His Holiness Hanumat Prasheka Maharaj, who will share with us philosophy and strategy of education along with Hari Vilas Prabhu. And not only the philosophy, but also the strategy of education with ISKCON. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay. Mukam karoti vachalam Pangun langayate girim Yakripa tamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So if you could hit F5. Small. Okay, at least minimize the top ribbon. Yes, yeah, it's on the right-hand side there. You're going to do that. Education with ISKCON, 4th annual symposium. Sorry, I get 15 minutes. Okay, I get that's 42, right? No, Montessori school can come. The first time we had the program in Radhadesh, I was there. Somebody who was in charge of education for all of the United Kingdom came and made some very, very nice observations about education. And this is the right one there. Okay, so we have, this is our section is philosophy and strategy of education. Actually, philo means love, Sophie means wisdom, so philosophy means love. So we're not actually talking about a philosophy of education, a teaching of wisdom, teaching of the love of wisdom of education. What we're really talking about is a strategy. Where are we trying to go? What are the basic principles? All these kind of things. And so often, everywhere we get this question, wherever we go, when these schools are being formed, people ask us, what's our philosophy? What's our strategy? You want some basic principles like that to decide. So here we have different philosophers. There's of education. There's Madhvacharya. Up on top is Socrates. He was so ugly that chickens would run away when they saw him. Then there's Confucius. He has his philosophy of education. And down below there's a rat. Right? And Skinner and others, they had their idea about what is education. Education is just developing. Okay. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, and here's kind of the big picture in the Western world. The introduction by Socrates of the Socratic method began a tradition in which reasoning, such questioning in turn eventually gave rise to the view that education should encourage in all students and persons, to the greatest extent possible, the pursuit of the life of reason. This view of the central place of reason in education has been shared by most of the major figures in the history of philosophy of education, despite otherwise substantial differences in their other philosophical views. Encyclopedia Britannica. The Britannica is accepted by scholars, universities. I acquire facts. You know, the capital of so-and-so is so-and-so. You know, so many inches equals 1 foot. Yeah, I acquire knowledge. But here's the thing, it's not enough to have knowledge. You have to be able to develop ways to connect it up, relate different facts to each other, like that and so on. Gyan in our tradition. Okay. So here we have the hierarchy then. Ours pretty much follows from the what the European Indian group with whatever. In English we have subject, verb, object. Tom hit the ball. Hindi and Sanskrit will be Tom the ball hit. And in German you say, upstairs in Bremerhausen, a man to a woman was talking about lunch that was supposed to be on Thursday while the sun was coming up, and they were supposed to go to the so-and-so after. The verb comes at the very end. Upstairs in Bremerhausen, a man to a woman was talking. Where's the verb? Yeah. Hopi Indians have a whole different kind of grammar. So by learning grammar, we're learning how to structure the world. We're learning a gyan process. The mathematics goes parallel. We learn to count. right? We learn arithmetic. Then we learn suspended judgment. 2x minus 1 equals 9. What is x? Yeah. So you got to wait. You got to shuffle the things around. So it's a little more sophisticated. It gets very sophisticated with the mental processes and so on. But this is all jnana, the life of reason. And we need to be trained in this, you know. We acquire facts. We learn how to manipulate them using this rational speculation. Science, of course, fits in. Science is basically rational empiricism. The same thing. Empiricism, direct perception, using rational thought. And this is basically what science considers itself, how we know things. Okay, karma, jnana. Dhyan, meditation, contemplation. Do they teach this in Western education, any place? You saw my presentation before, you should remember this. Yeah, in the drama department. Almost every single, probably every single major university in America has a department of drama. And if you go to the improvisation, if you go there, they'll teach you improvisational theater, things like that. It's a whole tradition coming down from what's in the West? Aristotle. Our theater in the West comes from Aristotle, and India comes from Bharata Muni. For Bharata Muni, the essence of the drama was the bhava, the perspective, the attitude. When you come out of this, you've got a different attitude. But for Aristotle, was the plot, you know, what's going to happen, this and that. But it comes down, and eventually they started getting into who is the actor, what is acting, what is communication, what is the personality. In the Greek theater, the persona was the mask, and behind that was the psyche, you know, so on. So it's a whole different area here. Only got 15 minutes, but basically, improvisation. What we're doing, I told Jayawita Maharaj some time ago. What we're doing is Gandharva Veda, right? Singing, dancing, and drama. And he said, yeah. So this is our yoga, Gandharva Veda. Singing, dancing, and drama. Lord Chaitanya was always acting out the dramas like that. So if you look at improvisational theater, is a very, very great resource. I can't go into too much here. But Viola Spolin, improvisation for the theater, is one of the super classics. 20 pages of philosophy, and you can just go through and match it to our philosophy incredibly. They're coming to the level of Paramatma, which she describes as nature with a big N. Nature, you know. And an actor does his work, her work, with Paramatma. They can change their personality like that. Many techniques of yoga. And so many of the techniques are the techniques that we're using also in our hearing and chanting. You can find this community, and even scientists will accept that there's intuition. They accept, yeah, it doesn't go on all because of rationality. That's where you're starting to push the limit and so on. So this is education, teaching a person to facts, teaching them how to use reason, and also teaching them how to be introspective, intuitive, how to learn how to meditate. You can read the Bhagavatam, you can understand the Bhagavatam, you can contemplate the Bhagavatam. What is that? Yeah. And finally, you can love the Bhagavatam. Okay? So final thing is love, bhakti. Please repeat. Vasudeve Bhagavate. Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. Janayati Yasuvairagyam. Jnanam Chayada Hoitukam. By bhakti, devotional service to Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires jnana and vairagya, detachment from this world. So we engage in bhakti, these other things just follow. So it's kind of a summary of the perspective on a philosophy of education, right? Okay. Oh no, God. Where's the technician? Okay. These are supposed to come in one at a time. They're not coming in one at a time. So we did this before. This is our basic. It's okay. We'll deal with it here. This is our basic. We're going to improvise. Okay. This is our basic model. The heart of our educational process is Sankirtan. How do we fit into the Sankirtan movement? If we can train our students to do that, we're successful. I'm a cook. I'm whatever. And come out of the school finding their position. And if we find our position by education in the Sankirtan movement, and we can train other people like that. And the all the citations I have are from the Upadeshamrita, which constitutes first instructions for neophyte devotees. Very, very great fundamental book. Nah. Therefore, to understand the mission of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and follow in his footsteps, one must very seriously follow in the footsteps of the six Goswamis. So this is a very simple, short mission statement based upon Prabhupada's words. Our mission is to train the students to be able to help Lord Chaitanya in his mission of distributing the science of Krishna by taking advantage of the history of the Goswamis like that. Very simple, right? Okay, now down below here it has, but we need to back it up with a little bit of Varna Ashram, some training. It's very natural for devotees. We don't have to go into great details. We can pick it up, how we're supposed to happen. So in the Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada says, in human society there are various religious conceptions characterized as Hindu, Christian, Hebrew, Mohammedan, Buddhist, and so on. For without religion, human society is no better than animal society. So some basic training, like the Grihastha Vision team here, and expanding it to the Banapras Vision team, and Sannyas Vision team. Yeah. A little bit of training, and then it creates a proper ambience. Okay. But what is the whole goal of the whole thing? You got the whole arrow. It's taking us from Varna Ashram through Sankirtan. It's prema, right? When a religious system develops and turns into love of God, it is successful. Okay. Okay. So here we have again Varna Ashram Dharma. We got a carpenter. We got a teacher. Teacher. Sit still while I instill. Okay, is there? We got some happy soldiers. I don't know. Actually, all that happy. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:19. Bhishma Dev's instructions to Yudhisthira. Okay. So here are some of the resources we have for Varna Ashram. Vastu Veda, Ayurveda, Gandharva Veda. What we have the most actually is Danda Veda. The king has the Danda. Okay. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1:19. Right? This is the chapter of Bhishma Dev's disappearance. And there's two, almost maybe three verses where Bhishma Dev, the instructions of Bhishma Dev to Yudhisthira are summarized in 2 paragraphs. You can print those as a separate manual, take them to courses, distribute them. What is our philosophy of social sciences? Fantastic. Prabhupada summarizes the essence of everything in those 2 purports. What is the role of women? What is the role of Kshatriyas? Everything. And that comes, okay. So Canto 7, of course, there's tremendous amount of detail on Varna Ashram. There's the Manu and Parashara Dharma Shastras. Prabhupada recommends the Parashara Dharma Shastra. It's a translation from 1896 by the Asiatic Society. After I read that, I've heard Prabhupada during room conversations citing it when he's giving his authority for things like that. Then there's a Hitopadesh, Panchatantra, Mahabharata, Shanti Parva. What Prabhupada is summarizing in those 2 purports is from the summary of the Shanti Parva. It's about 135 pages in small type. And we have so much information about how to organize society. And of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but basically Daivi Varna Ashram from beginning to end. You can take the fast track, Nectar of Devotion, just go right through it, or else you can take the slow track and Pregnancy of Diti in the evening, Sukanya and Chaivana Muni, one after another, just these stories based in social cycle of circumstance. Next. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Now, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is this whole thing of from the beginning to prema. Adoshrada, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kris, Bhava. And that's our scale. But this is the actual development we want to measure. The student comes into your classroom. Where's the kid at? Maybe 5 years old, but he may be, maybe Prahlad Maharaj. Somebody comes in, 5 years old, he should run Kasipu. Okay, so, yeah, different levels, yeah. So Prabhupada says we have to know, Nectar of Instruction, we have to know our level of development, and we have to know the people we're dealing with to be able to Dadatriga Patagreenati. So Adoshrada, somebody hears about the Hare Krishna movement, their sister's been going, they say, okay, I'll go with you on Sunday to see what it's like, but if they're not nice, I won't go again. Okay. So Adoshrada, a little bit of preliminary faith, want to try it out. Then after you go there, these people are nice. Well, I want to hang out with these people. And their Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, his literature is, wow, okay. Adoshrada, I talk faster. Adoshrada, Sadhu Sangha. And you start chanting, you start following, but you ask people, isn't there a systematic way to do this or something? Is there a process? Yeah. Bhajana Kriya. Then you actually formally take initiation. You get up in the morning, you matriculate in the school. All your previous study in the school, courses you audited, those count, But you go through them again. Now you go through them as a registered student. So initiation, matriculation. Then by that, all the bad habits go away. We stop looking at ladies' fashion magazines or men's sports activities, anartha nivritti, nishta. Yeah. Now we're always up in the morning. We're always chanting our rounds. Prabhupada said this is more or less, I can't remember. Nishta? You get a taste. Everything before was actually relief from suffering. It wasn't a taste. Now you actually taste serving Krishna. Some like to taste Ram Lila. Some like to taste, Krishna Lila. Raganuga. Now you can start to cultivate this level. Now you don't do anything different than anybody else, but it's how you do it. At this point, you're covered. You don't talk about it. You don't disclose it in public. You're just doing the same thing as everybody else, but somebody watching closely sees how the depth is there. He's making the noon offering like Mother Yashoda. He's making the noon offering like a cowherd boy. Okay? Ruchi. And after Ruchi, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, notice, warning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has any price to get what they were having. Even if he has to sell his grandmother to the devil, he'll do it. So Granny, don't trust Bhaktivinoda Thakur anymore. So this is asaktis. The atheist can be cooking you on a barbecue or anything they want to do like that, but it's just, you're attached. And by being attached, Baba, the seed has grown, it's become a sprout, it's become a seedling, it's produced flowers, and now it is a peach, pear, mango, strawberry? No strawberry, okay. Cherry! Envious out of free will. And Nitya Siddha Krishna, where's it go? No, not that one, this other one. Okay, I'll come back later, Krishna Surya Sam, Maya Haya Andakar, Yahan Krishna Ta, and Naya Maya Adhikar. In Baba, Maya's there, you see her, but she no longer possibility of accident will fall down. At that point, we have to undergo whatever's, not a process at that point, but the yoga at that point to become fully mature. And that's prema. So that's our goal. Without that, again, we haven't been successful. We're going to come back again until we actually come to that level. So that's very much trying to integrate this. Remember that in the school. How am I judging people? How am I judging myself? Different medicine. Am I qualified to give the medicine? If some kid's on the level of asaktis, how can I arrange for him to advance in spiritual? Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada has given us everything that we need to educate ourselves and educate the world. This is a beginning of a textbook for children. Let's go along in the slides what we're doing. We begin with Ishopanishad, Vidyam Chavitam Chayas. One should learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side. Then one can transcend the influence of repeat. Supported, let's say, by material education. Supported in this sense. You learn what to do by understanding the activities of pure devotees, and you learn what to do by understanding the nefarious activities of the material. Ramayan, his father sequestered him in a mountain ashram. He didn't know what a woman was. He didn't have a mother. He had never seen a woman before. But later on, there was a kingdom in which there was a severe drought, and the king was advised to find a pure person that never had any contact with a woman in his whole life. He didn't know what a woman was. So when his father was away from the ashram, the king sent his daughter and her attendants in a boat upstream to this mountain ashram, and they were dressed like sannyasis. And when he saw guests, he was obviously, he didn't see many people. And he thought they were all sannyasis. He went and hugged them each one of the ladies, not knowing that they were ladies. And he felt something he had never felt. He felt great pangs of separation. Make a long story short, he got married to the king's daughter, and he performed the sacrifice, and rain came. And somehow or other they appeased his father so that he wouldn't curse them. But that's what happens when you don't understand material nature and how it works. And Prabhupada explains in depth how material nature works in his book. Most likely you will not come out easily unscathed. So we begin with this, that we're explaining that we should cultivate spiritual and material knowledge simultaneously. Okay, Krishna is the origin of everything, material and spiritual. Aham sarvasya prabhava matak sarvam pavartate. From Krishna come all living entities as eternal souls. The Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence that emanates from Krishna's body, is made of infinite jivas, spirit souls, in the form of sparks or pencils of light. The spiritual effulgence spreads through the entire spiritual world and enters the material world by reflecting off underwater, in water, on the earth, in the sky, in the sun, on every planet, everywhere there are living entities. Plants are capable of capturing the energy of the sunlight through photosynthesis. Thus, the plant's source of energy comes from the sun, which originally comes from the Brahma Jyoti, which comes from Krishna. The plants use this energy to extract elements from the earth, such as hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen from the air to form aromatic hydrocarbons, also called natural fragrance molecules. Go ahead. Next. The plant itself is an individual living entity, or jiva. For example, an eucalyptus tree specifically forms the following fragrance from the earth called eucalyptol, which has a molecular formula, C10H18O1, oxygen. The lavender plant produces a different fragrance which has the same molecular formula, but the lavender molecule has a different structure than the eucalyptol molecule. There are at least 7 more different floral fragrances: geranium, peppermint, tea tree, citronella, etc., and with the same molecular formula, but with uniquely different molecular structure. This proves that plants are living entities that can selectively extract elements from the earth and form specific natural fragrances. They make variants of the fragrance in the plant for use in different situations. For example, if the plant wants to attract a pollinator insect, it produces a specific variant fragrance. If the plant wants to repel a predator insect, it produces another variant, like enzymes, acid, stool, urine, tears, mucus, sweat, saliva, etc. Similarly, a plant is also capable of producing many chemical byproducts, such as various aromatic fragrances concentrated in its stem, branches, leaves, roots, seeds, and flowers. Next. This is an example of eucalyptus fragrance. Next, aromatic hydrocarbons. Next, this is citronella. They all have different structure, but they have exactly the same formula. Next. By taking one line of a 4-line verse spoken by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, we can expand it to examine the incredible ingenuity of the Lord, who is the original scientist. Actually all scientific research is discovering what already exists, which points to a greater and much more intelligent creator who predates the present scientists. Next. Punyagandha prativyam cha. So that is the line we're going to begin with, where Krishna says, I'm the original fragrance of the earth. Next. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Punya means that which is not decomposed. Punya is original. Everything in the material world has a certain flavor or fragrance, as the flavor and fragrance in a flower, or in the earth, in water, in fire, in air, etc. The uncontaminated flavor, the original flavor, which permeates everything, is Krishna. Similarly, everything has a particular original taste, and this taste can be changed by the mixture of chemicals. So everything original has some smell, some fragrance, and some taste. Next, fertilizers, electromagnetic waves, gases, and poisons. His research convinced him that there were no clear-cut boundaries between the nervous systems of plants, animals, and humans. He invented the crescograph, an instrument using a series of clockwork gears and a smoke glass plate to record the movement of the tip of a plant or its roots at magnifications of up to 10,000. Marks were made on the plate at intervals of invented microwaves and also proved that plants have life. He was a physicist, but is better known for his contributions to biophysics, biology, and botany. He did not believe in patenting his inventions. He discovered how to free electromagnetic waves. So he was before Marconi, and he invented and demonstrated in 1899 in the Royal Academy of Science in London how to use an electromagnetic wave to set something on fire. In front of all the scientists, he actually released an electromagnetic wave from his machine, and it set something on fire on the other end of the room. It was like magic. So he's the father of modern telephones. Bose found spiritual implications in his research. He claimed that plants, like animals and humans, adjusted to change through inherited memory of the past. He substantiated in his laboratory research the Vedic understanding that the whole material universe is animated because of the presence of innumerable and individual living entities, jivas or jivatmas, and the omnipresent supersoul expansion of Lord Krishna Paramatma, the supreme individual, present in every atom and in the heart of every living entity. Next. Bose with his crescograph. Bose invented the crescograph, an electrical instrument that could measure the growth of a plant and its response to stimulus. Next. Many scientists have continued Bose's work by careful study of plants and their unique individuality. So what Bose started at the end of the 19th century has been continued by many modern scientists today. He basically proved that the nervous system of a plant is not different than the nervous system of a human being, and that plants respond in the same way as human beings. And he also demonstrated it's the same thing for inert things such as metals, which is amazing. Many scientists have continued Bose's work by careful study of plants and their unique individuality. The ecologist Richard Carbon has observed that when bugs chew leaves, plants respond by releasing volatile organic compounds, natural fragrances, into the air. By Carbon's last count, 40 out of 48 studies of plant communication confirmed that other defense mechanisms in response. Martin Heil, an ecologist at the Mexican Research Institute Sinvestav Irapuato, has stated, the evidence that plants release volatile fragrances when damaged by herbivores is as sure as something in science can be. The evidence that plants can somehow perceive these fragrances and respond with a defense response is also very good. Next. So here we have a demonstration of what a plant can do and how it communicates and how it responds to outside predators, or how it can attract seed disseminators. So you might not be able to see it very clearly. Try and make it as big as possible. So plants make fragrances, and punyoganda prativyamcha. These fragrances are, the compounds are made from what exists in the earth and the air, the carbon, the hydrogen, and the oxygen. And they structure them differently according to what they want to do. If they want to attract the seed disseminators, like squirrels, they produce a certain fragrance from the fruit. And the squirrel comes and eats the fruit, or a bird comes and eats the fruit, and then it defecates the seed, and they spread the seeds like that. If they want to produce an antifungal, antimicrobial molecule, fragrance, they can do that too through the flower. If they want to attract pollinators, bees, and let's say butterflies, that's another fragrance that they produce. If they have, like say, worms or other predators under the ground, they also have antifungal and attract seed disseminators. They can attract pollinators and so forth. And also they can communicate with other plants and inform them that they're being attacked, you should watch out. So we see that what Bose began based on his, what did he do exactly? He began with the axiomatic or self-evident truths of the Vedas and experimented based on that first premise, that plants are also living beings. So, and basically he's showing they're not much different than human beings as far as their nervous system goes and as far as their reaction to outside stimulus. Ted Farmer, a graduate researcher working near under Clarence Ryan, renowned plant hormone expert, studied local sagebrush in eastern Washington state. Sagebrush produced copious amounts of methyl jasmonate, an airborne organic chemical that Ryan thought plants were using to ward off insect herbivores. The scientists damaged sagebrush leaves and put them into airtight jars with potted tomato plants. The plants can communicate with insects as well, sending airborne messages that act as distress signals to predatory insects that kill herbivores, plant-eating insects. So they can attract predator insects that kill the herbivore insects that are attacking them. Corn attacked by beet armyworms release a cloud of volatile chemicals that attract wasps to lay their eggs. Living things all do certain things. They grow and die. They need energy, nutrients, air, and water. They produce young. They're made up of cells. They react to what's around them. They extract Krishna's energy from the earth and the sun. So this is just a model of a beginner's textbook where we have integrated education for kids of life. Everything, and the fact that everything is coming from Krishna. Everything is within Krishna. Krishna is within everything, and everything returns back to Krishna. This is the difference between our way of teaching our children and what is being taught in the public schools today and in even private schools. And secular humanism is the philosophical basis of all education in the West and in India. It's based on the idea that they categorically and in an extreme fanatically reject theism, reject the existence of any supernatural being who's the creator of the world, and they rely uniquely on human reason. It's in Europe and also India today. And you can ask anyone, well, you went to a university in India? Did they ever talk about God? No, of course not. So it's even in thing. So if we subject our children to such an atmosphere, then don't be surprised. One day they'll come home and they say, hey, dude, I'm going to go and I'm going out on a date and blah, blah, blah. You know the rest. They're already doing. So Prabhupada said, without sex life, one cannot be materially enthusiastic. And if you stop sex life, then you become spiritually advanced. This is the secret. If you stop sex life, you become spiritually advanced. And if you indulge in sex life, then you will be materially enthusiastic. The whole Eastern culture is based on how to stop sex life. And here in the Western countries, how to increase sex life. Western civilization does not know the science of life. So this is what we're faced with. And most of the time, even our own devotees, they're so conditioned by the society that we live in that they subject their kids to public education and materialistic education with the idea that they'll get ahead. But the first thing that a child has to learn is the difference between the soul and the body, and then the difference between the individual soul and Krishna, the super soul, and then the fact that everything, the super soul, the Brahma Jyoti, the living entities, all incarnations, the entire material universe, all come from Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Sarvakarana Karanam. Once they understand that, then they can understand that the purpose of life is to serve Krishna, because that's the question. Anybody in this world, if you ask them what they really want, they'll say, after a long reflection, I want peace, I want happiness, and I want love. There are no courses in any school today. There's no 101 peace, 101 happiness, 101 love. It doesn't exist. They talk about it maybe a little bit, but there's nothing, no serious study of it. Like they study the frog, and they dissect the frog. There's a lot of information about that, but there's no information about the real thing that people want, which is peace, happiness, and love. That's as a stepping stone for that. Just like we use the material energy. We have deities made out of material energy. We have books that are made out of material energy. We have food that's made out of material energy, but we know how to convert it or by connecting it to Krishna. They don't teach anything like that in the schools. And if we can't understand what our philosophy of education is and what we're trying to do, we cannot do it. We have to understand, what is it that we're trying to do? What is it we're actually trying to teach these kids? And we have to teach them to see Krishna everywhere and in everything. That there's no such thing as a private life. There's always a witness to what we do. At one time I was in Morocco, in a remote village called Marrakesh. He was smoking a cigarette. And so I stopped him and I said, Shuhaida. I said, what are you doing? He said, what am I doing? He said, who are you? I don't know who you are. I said, I'm like your father. He said, you're not my father. I said, I'm like your father. I said, do you smoke cigarette in the mosque? He said, no. I said, why not? He said, because Allah is there. I said, but the Quran explains Allah is everywhere. Not only in the mosque, right? He's everywhere present. So we cannot get away with anything. Once a person understands that, there's no such thing as privacy. There's always a witness. Once a person understands that, they begin the process of becoming civilized. And then seeing the connection of everything to Krishna, that is spiritual vision. And material vision, which they teach kids in schools specifically, is not to see the connection with God of anything. Okay? And that is secular humanism. They factor out God in every aspect of life. So our strategy should be to factor in Krishna. And then the last point I want to make is, this morning we had a very interesting discussion with Shesha Prabhu. And I wanted to read something from Prahlad Maharaj. He says, human being is able to give up. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see here. Sorry. Oh, my Lord, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, kamam hrit rogam. Materialistic life means that one is afflicted by a formidable disease called lusty desire. Liberation means freedom from lusty desires, because it is only due to such desires that one must accept repeated birth and death, types of activities, and receives various types of bodies with which to try to fulfill desires that are never satisfied. The only remedy is to take to devotional service, which begins when one is free from all material desires. Anya abhilasita sunyam. Anya abhilasita means material desire, and sunyam means free from. The spiritual soul has spiritual activities and spiritual desires as described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mama janmani janmani sware bhavatat bhaktira haituki twai. Unalloyed desirelessness means freedom from material desires. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as anya bilasita sunyam. As soon as one has material desires, one loses his spiritual identity. Then all the paraphernalia of one's life, including one's senses, body, religion, patience, and intelligence, are deviated from one's original Krishna consciousness. As soon as one has material desires, one cannot properly use his senses, intelligence, mind, and so on for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mayavadi philosophers want to become impersonal, senseless, and mindless, but that is not possible. The living entity must be living, always existing with desires, ambitions, and so on. These should be purified. However, in every living entity, these propensities exist because he is a living entity. When materially uncontaminated, however, one is put into the hands of material misery, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. If one wants to stop repeated birth and death, one must take to the devotional service of the Lord. Sarvabhadi Vinir Muktam. Bhakti, or devotional service, means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and simply by being employed in the service of the Lord, one's senses are purified. So that is our goal. And even one material desire is and it destroys a person's ability to be Krishna conscious. This especially should be understood by all our leaders. One cannot actually be a leader if they have material desires, because everything they decide will be perverted by it. So I'll stop right there. Education is the only solution, and thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Sure. Well, we have the time now. We have about 6 to 7 minutes to do so. So we can start right away. Shesha Prabhu had his hand up first. Okay. Can I have that mic, please?
I found Harilas Prabhu's take on education very interesting, how everything has to be connected to Krishna, because that way you don't have to dumb anything down. I know that our son always had a problem in school because they start with the small thing and build it up. He said, I don't see the connection to anything. I can't remember it. Right? And one of my friends found an old textbook. She didn't know what it was. She found it in a secondhand store, and she took it somewhere. And it was like a elementary school textbook, and it was like too hard for any high school student nowadays, because we have to dumb down the education because there's no they can't see the connection to anything.
So that was a comment. Thank you.
Well,
Would you like to?
No, that's, yes.
Thank you so much. Shesha Prabhu.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it might follow on what you're saying. I mean, how many days in the year how many days is your school year? 200 days out of the year. Well, it's a long time. 180, 200, whatever. I mean, what Hari Vilas presented was fascinating. Maybe you spend a week on that. Then what do you do with the kids that are sitting in front of you for the 180 days? I mean, how do we make this a systematic thing that's from the outside? You know, that's what we really need, isn't it? I mean, tying these things, and the philosophy of education too.
At least 20 right now. Building it up to a full textbook.
Well, great, because I think you need some kind of, you need some kind of systematic curriculum that, because as I said, the kids are there, and if they're not engaged, we need more. We need a curriculum that they can go through systematically. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yes, for 15 years. Sorry. What do you do? And until we get that, it's nice, but that's going to give something systematic. We need to get people to write them first.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. Years ago, maybe 35 years ago, and the United Nations was starting a peace university, and it still exists. And they graduate people from there. It's from Spain. So my point is that there are people we can connect up with and do very, very good things. Maybe some details we don't agree, but a lot of things we agree on, like that is, we can maybe get a good percentage and so on. But it's Kali Yuga, so okay. We create umbrellas, we create areas like that, and some people want to go to hell. Maharaj Parikshit was trying to change everything, right? Kali Yuga fellow.
So are there people you say that we can work with? we need to start getting a database of names so that, they can help Mormons. Or maybe that, getting a list of,
So many curriculums exist that we can just take these things. It's nice. I mean, as far as I know, if you haven't not doing homeschooling, and there's no school, one of the best groups to associate with is Seventh-day Adventists. We've never had any kind of conflict with them. The girls don't wear makeup. They believe in God. They're vegetarian. A Mexican lady's putting her kid in the school. And okay, yeah, yeah. Because the ideas that don't go beyond the Paramatma level. You can, but we're not forcing that. Everybody in our school except there's matter, Prabhupada said, there's soul, and there's Jivatma and Paramatma. Okay, that's the basic principle. Yeah.
well, maybe that's the step, we
Yeah.
get a list of people we can work with, and that way
Yeah.
we're not losing another generation while this curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because like in Vishwambar, I don't know if he's listening, they liaison the Montessori group. And so if our educators can compile a list of people we can work with, then maybe we can work to getting this thing, into a curriculum.
I don't know if it's related to this topic right now, but I was hoping that we could either begin the steps toward, since this is the third year, fourth year that some of us are meeting, creating kind of an approval list that you're an approved Hare Krishna school, the way websites have the ISKCON logo, and in North America, that you're part of a group, you belong. Classroom, whatever the guidelines are, that we decide that, and we make some kind of a stamp of approval for all the schools and Sunday schools in North America to feel like they belong to a group instead of everyone is kind of separately doing their thing. And I don't know if that means something we do with the curriculum or what that would be something we would need to identify.
People, when they go back to their areas and think we can work with these people, or if other schools are interested, come with us. We've already been meeting. We already got some ideas. We got some momentum going. You want to start a school in Tuaco, New Jersey Temple? Then, get in touch with this group. Work with us. We're the educators. We'll help on and trying to dictate, well, these should be your standards. I mean, there is that there. And I think we have a presentation coming up, actually, from Naveen Krishna at the Avanti schools, where they want to do something like that. And so they're also coming to this. So coming to the group that's already there, all of you that are working together and saying, well, hey, join us.
Is this something that's feasible for this meeting, for this next 3 days?
As a plan for the conference, of course, we have 2 breakout sessions. I mean, one is today and one is tomorrow. And we were discussing this morning that some of the themes that come during the morning session today and tomorrow, they could be assigned to one of the breakout sessions. So let's say tomorrow afternoon, some of the educators in the primary education, or many of you are here, you could get together and start working out how to connect and what sort of standards could be put in place if that's what is desired.
Yeah, and if you want to filter whether they're Krishna conscious enough, I mean, Hari Vilas, he's obviously gone into this very deeply, and he's thinking about that, putting together, involve him. What does he think about this or that,
So we had meetings through Skype with Vishwambar Prabhu, Karcha Mashai, and Jai Radhe, and I think Mother Nanda Vrindavan 2 years back. Something was compiled, but I'm wondering if a little more general than that, if we can compile something that's more general, that's not so specific, because the schools all have different curriculum, different methodologies, different size classrooms. Yeah, just hoping that we could do something more general, that a Montessori school can come in, a Kampur, Bhakti Vidya Purna Swami school can come in, that it's general enough that it still creates some kind of an identity for our schools.
So, Gopi Gita Mataji, you make a very valid point. Of course, that's the intention of the conference, to take things forward from what was left in the past. We will try and have a breakout session for this, specifically focus on this topic. If you allow us now, yes.
If you look at the list of sessions, philosophy of education, a Shastric basis, Varnashram Dharma, early learners, higher learners, education with this, we have working on it before, but also the breakout sessions. But that's specifically a part of the whole thing. Is that the last session we can, we're designed to discuss that topic and address it. And I would say two things again: get a newsletter going that comes out regularly, good quality, people pay for it, then we can have a continuous forum, and then zonal, regional representatives who can collect our ideas. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. So we'd like to wrap up the first session here. We will have His Grace Hari Leela Prabhu presenting now on Shastric education. Two specific and very important themes with us today. One is that as educators, we are all educators as well as students at the same time. It's not that we're just educators, we are students of Srila Prabhupada's books and our philosophy. We all need to develop eventually love for God. Love of God is our aim. And the other point was, if you want to develop love for God, you need to connect with God. You need to connect with Krishna. And His Hari Vilas Prabhu gave both a philosophical orientation to that, but at the same time, he also gave a strategy of how they're doing it with children. And the curriculum, how do we take everything from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. A lifetime of effort for the educators, and has to start somewhere. We've already seen a beginning with the work that Hari Vilas Prabhu has shared with us, and I'm sure several other educators around would be doing it as well. As Maharaj said, there are existing groups who are doing it. So connecting with Krishna, but we also need to connect to people who at least believe in theistic philosophies. We can work with them, borrow the curriculum that at least establish some of the foundational principles that we hear in Bhagavad Gita. So with that, and if you're ready for His Grace Hari Vilas Prabhu's presentation, Hari Leela Prabhu's presentation, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Vanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So here we are at the 4th annual North American Symposium on Education with ISKCON. I'm going to talk about Shastric education. Basically, I'm going to give you an update that all the centers have. Books are the basis. Of course, Prabhupada has like 4 slogans, 4 principles. One of them is this. Then like books are basis and purity is the force and utility is a principle. I don't know, 4th one, this 4 of them. So, preaching is the essence. Okay. So, we'll give you the update on what's happening in Houston first, which is the next slide. In Houston, our Radha Krishna Prabhu is the education director, but he's traveling. So he got some points laid out for us. It's like we can think about it, we can digest it and see whatever we can get out of it. At the end, we can discuss all these things. So he's saying that I'm traveling and I will most likely, that is, he said the education department was started in 1998. ISKCON of Houston now offers the following Vaishnava philosophy courses: Bhakti Sadachar, Bhakti Shastri, and Bhakti Vaibhav. The courses take personal approach to learning. It encourages the student not only to study thoroughly the contents of Srila Prabhupada's books, but also to clearly understand the philosophy and practically apply it. Next. Bhakti Sadachar course focuses on behavior and character, nurturing students Bhakti Sadachar course focuses on behavior and character, nurturing students in appropriate Vaishnava values. It includes science of self-realization and also introduces a general understanding of Bhagavad Gita. All students who complete this course within 1 year generally go on to do the Bhakti Sastri course. The Bhakti Sastri course is an in-depth study of Bhagavad Gita, nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, and Upanishad. At present, there are at least 5 groups of common issues we found were that although the attendance to the weekly course was good, there are a group of devotees who consistently absent themselves for other activities. But with consistent and proper discussion on the need of spiritual education, the participants are seeing the need to attend regularly. This requires the participant to learn to set priorities. Next. Designed and presented, it draws on the principles of Krishna consciousness and the best of progressive education. In this way, it is true to ISKCON's heritage and at the same time relevant to its mission in contemporary society. One group of devotees in Seattle have completed the study of the first 6 cantos, but they have not completed all the homework and the exams to date. At that time, a time has been scheduled for work than at home studying. Nevertheless, they are submitting the required homework and self-study and group study at a slower rate than was expected in our original assumptions based on the participants' willingness and commitment. 2 other groups currently completing the 4th canto in Houston, and a new group was recently formed, currently studying the 1st canto. Current study is based on the same guides developed by His Holiness Hanumat Prasak Swami and the group in San Jose. Next. Some other thoughts, consideration and concerns. There is a lack of resources for participants and teachers to check these questions or doubts or reference to statement from the scriptures. Record keeping should also be standardized across all the participating bodies so that when participating devotees move graphically, there is minimum impact in their studies. Often our standards in educating spirituality is compared to the standard of mundane educators. In my opinion, this is very much akin to comparing apples to oranges. Krishna consciousness should not be based only on a score or the ability to write good essays or good presentations, but rather on the individual's ability, reasonable and confident way. It is through the proper experience of Krishna consciousness that the individual makes tangible progress. Then in the next slide we have some other considerations where it says, nevertheless there is room to improve the academic standards we have, but we should not appropriately compare our methods or methodologies with those of Harvard or Stanford. The standards we derive should be based on the principles and the characters and qualities that Srila Prabhupada emphasizes in his books. The papers and questions set should be such, Shastric education should be such that the participants can answer any questions based on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and that they also understand how they can apply this in their lives and help others apply them also. Next. So this is the report from Potomac, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. He's giving update what's happening in Potomac there. Say a local program. Second, Bhakti Sastri with me, that's with Giri Govardhan Prabhu. Third one is Sunday school for kids 5 years old and up. Fourth item is an introductory class, discussion on Sundays before the main program for people new to Krishna consciousness. They're saying we have borrowed the name Bhakti Lounge from His Holiness Devamrit Maharaj for this program. We post all of the Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Sastri and Sunday Feast lectures online at San Jose. Next slide. Okay, this is the picture of Potomac Temple and the deities. Okay, here is the report from Srivas Pandit Prabhu, ISKCON Silicon Valley. So he's giving Sastric education at ISV, Bhakti Sastri. We started Bhakti Sastri in August 2009. We have completed 3 batches. And the first semester is Nectar of Instruction and Isopnisad. In the second and third semester, the students complete Bhagavad Gita as it is. And in fourth semester, the students read Nectar of Devotion, Eastern part. Many young devotees, some as old as 11 years, want to join. The impetus mainly comes from parents, and we are not sure if that is right motivation for the kids. Board of Examination needs to implement certain guidelines of the appreciative of the fact that they got to read Srila Prabhupada books. Next. Now we will have Bhakti Vaibhav at San Jose also. Okay. We have 3 batches of Bhakti Vaibhav. First group includes His Holiness Hanumat Prasak Swami and His Grace Vaisesika Das. All the study is done, and now we are dealing with administrative details. And then we will start Bhakti Vedanta. Another batch is doing the 4th canto and the other 3rd canto. Overall about 25 students, including record keeping and grading of essays. How to divide the marks between presentation, essays and exams. But everyone is satisfied that they are reading Bhagavatam. No, the Board of Examination rules establishes how many marks go to presentation, essays, short answer questions, hours of class attendance, verses, and personal characters. Next. Number 1 is standardized course content and evaluation. We have Bhakti Sastri, Bhakti Vaibhav going in all these places: San Jose, Houston, Seattle, DC, Radha Desh, Belgium, Mayapur, Vrindavan, Pune, Australia, South Africa, Brazil. All we need to integrate character development with academic development, statistic studies for primary, secondary, statistic studies at university level and beyond. Thank you for listening. So here we talk about the Bhakti Sastri, Sastric education. In general, education is the key for life, but the Sastric education is provide you the or help you to the spiritual life. So it is said that we can, from Sastric education, especially I heard emphasize so much on Sastric education, and I heard some places that Prabhupada says even 10% of the population will get educated in Krishna consciousness, the world can change. It will, like Sesa Prabhu was mentioning, world view, it can change view. Hare Krishna. Any other comments or?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hari Lila Prabhu. I have several comments here, and I think I'm trying to relate them to what we were talking about before. We're talking about having that kind of education system for the kids, and maybe for the parents, the Shastric education is what's needed, because the parents seems like they have to go together. Shastric education with, this kind of a curriculum change, Krishna-centered rather than material-centered. So, therefore we need programs, like this. And maybe the reports that they give, that's the first time I've seen any reports like that from the different places with specifics of what challenges they're meeting, everything. They're not here, but at least these meetings, if they can be a junctions, vacation people, you got to give a report because we're having a conference, Then we get a look at it. And then maybe we have our regional representative, as you're pushing, do something about it, either work out problems with the Board of Examiners internationally to fit specific needs we have here in North America, or work out with, the different programs, agreed standards, and start working together as a team. I think that, and they may be more Harvard-like than Shastric study-like. And so we're going to be dissatisfied as parents because it's not Harvard-like. It's a whole, A to Z, approach that I think that has to be there to really be successful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shesha Prabhu. Wanted to say a few things that Shesha Prabhu just mentioned. The third point about expectations of the parents, whether they're Harvard-like or Shastric-like, could, as you mentioned, Shastra, then their worldview may start moving from what is Harvard-like today to more towards Krishna consciousness. And also about the second point that you mentioned, which is very important, I think Maharaj alluded to it yesterday, just in one sentence. He said, a global system for Shastric education. Possibly a part of a global system is also reporting, putting it all together, how to support each of these institutions, etc. So, and how do there was a list of 8, 9 institutions who are running these courses. How do they all come together? Here, Uttama Mataji wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just going to ask how many of them had online programs, but maybe that's something you can discuss and how to present that, because I've caught snippets of Harlila Prabhu teaches something or other, and when we were in ISV, there were some people coming online in the course. So obviously there's more than just Rotterdam, Belgium online or whatever, and it's not that well known.
So, well, it's really nice that we have all these courses all over the world. For them to take root and to be respected, I think what we need, which I think has been brought up, is really strict standards of how they're presented, how they're given out, and grading and all that stuff, which I don't see. I see a whole range of Bhakti Shastri courses online from like 2 months to 2 years, grading that is done by computers, all those things. And I think that does not bode well in the long run for this education. So that I'd like to discuss in the breakout session. Thank you.
And Prabhu, when I was looking at the second but last slide, there on the right top corner, there was a point that there is education, there's study, but then there's also character development. How do you evaluate that when it's just online with respect to devotees and their sadhana and everything?
What I've seen, at least limited samples, is as these devotees who go after from Shastri to web of the Bhakti Vedanta, the character development is not there, pride comes in. And that is, again, something very, very disturbing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So we'll take your suggestion on that, and when there's a breakout session on the global system for Shastric education, these points can be taken up there as well. Hari Vilas, Prabhu.
One thing I realized early on in ISKCON is that this knowledge is not imbibed through academic study. Atakshi Krishnanamadi Nabhavedgram Indriya, that when one is purified by practicing Krishna consciousness, then the knowledge is revealed. And you have the example of Narada Muni, you have the example of Prahlad Maharaj, you have the example of Dhruva Maharaj, and many others who did not go to school. They did not study. But because they rendered service to pure devotees, or each one of those persons has a slightly different approach, but they were all blessed with transcendental knowledge. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So there is a difference between academic knowledge and spiritual understanding of it. All intellect and all knowledge comes from the Paramatma. Matak smriti jnanam apahanam cha. So unless, what I've seen here, I mean, there is a Bhakti Vaibhav class going on here. I don't see the people engaged in those classes increase their devotional service. If anything, they decrease it. And this is a major problem in temples. I don't know about other temples. It's a major problem here. And they become academically, let's say, so involved that they diminish their devotional service, and they never come out of Sankirtan. Our movement is called Chitta Darpana Marjana Baba Mahadevagni Nirvapanam. Glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which is the prime benediction for humanity at large. Unless a person comes on Sankirtan, they'll never understand philosophy properly. Where you're tested every minute on Sankirtan, by the general public. So this is what I would like to see as a directional, let's say, directive coming from some kind of a standards body that ultimately should all lead to Sankirtan and preaching by example, not simply academically. Academic preaching, I mean, you can learn that in a college. You can learn that, you can take a course in any college about that. But we're not academic. We're devotees. And devotee, if you read 13th chapter, 8th to 12th verse, the first symptom is humility. And unless one is trained to appreciate those qualities, aman nitvam vadam nitvam himsa santir arjvam acharya pasanam socham staryam atma vinigraha. These are the things, these are 18 points of knowledge. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't do these courses. They should, but the teachers have to understand where they're trying to lead them to. That's an observation I've made from seeing it here.
I think Prabhu touched upon the point, Anantarupa Prabhu, and then Harivilas Prabhu elaborated on it. It does take us back to the fact that there is a strong need for character development. And when I use the word character, I'm not just talking about some hocus pocus outside, but as Srila Prabhupada defined the character of a devotee with the qualities that you just described. Well, I have the unpleasant role here today of stopping these discussions when they're just starting, but they're not stopping. What we're doing in the morning session, and Maharaj gave a very nice chronological order, the logical order in which these topics are being developed are, we're collecting food for thought, the seeds that can later in the day be utilized for the breakout sessions. So request everybody to kindly note these very valid observations that devotees are making around the table. And I'm sure some of you who have not spoken yet because of lack of time and other reasons, we'll have plenty of opportunity to do so in the afternoon session. If we have one on global system for Shastric education, these points shall be covered. So would like to thank Harilila Prabhu for your report and for the devotees, their participation. We next have a session which is on Varnashram education, preparing for marriage, preparing for sannyas. Maharaj alluded it to earlier, the Grihastha Vision team, the Varnashram team, and also Sannyas team. This presentation shall be made by His Holiness Hanumat Prashekha Maharaj, His Grace Anantarupa Prabhu, Her Grace Uttama Mataji, and His Grace Partha Prabhu. And I don't know how they're going to coordinate, but I'll leave it to the four of you to please take the stage and share with us.
Yeah, I like to interrupt. That's our pet peeve in marriage, that I'm always interrupting.
I'd just like to welcome you, both of you coming to do this. I mean, it's kind of like a piece of the puzzle that we haven't had before, and why we didn't think of it before.
We just happen to live next door, that's why you asked us.
Thank you for coming, both of you.
Can we cue up our slides?
Om Jnana Timarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. One of the reasons that we do what we do is because we have taught Gurukula, we have had ashrams, and we see that if parents aren't together, you get really problematic kids. So, you know, you just figure out which part of the puzzle you want to help with, and this is our part.
So our initiative, the Grihastha Vision Team, it's very much based upon connection. We're trying to help Grihasthas develop healthy, strong, connected relationships, and also very much about character development, which we were just talking about. We often tell couples that marriage does not make you happy. It makes you married. That's it. And when you're married, you can do the hard work of becoming happy in Krishna consciousness in your marriage, but it's a lot of hard work. Can we have the next slide? So I'm Canadian, but I'm visiting the US, so we'll use the United States as an example. I'm sure everyone has seen this, and you know, everyone wants to make America great again. Can we have the next slide? Just imagine we woke up, we fell asleep for 5 minutes and woke up, and we have the next slide. Varnashram. Imagine if all of a sudden everyone in the United States of America wanted to join the temple. Wonderful. But we have the next slide. We're going to have a bit of a problem because within our society in North America and also many places in the world, in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in many places we have a divorce rate that's equal to, or even in some places above, the outside secular world, 50% or more. So that's a problem. So in the United States of America, family fragmentation costs American taxpayers $112 billion a year, every year. That's in terms of court costs, social services, criminal justice, crime, mental illness. It's a huge problem. So if all of a sudden America became Krishna conscious and we were where we are now in the development of Krishna consciousness, we'd have a huge problem, $112 billion problem every year. But our society is relatively small, it's growing, but we still have this problem about breakdown in marriages. So, go to the next slide. So this is a building, disclaimer, this was not designed by Har Leela Prabhu, our architect, our engineer. We have a building with a faulty foundation. So the Grihastha Ashram, every individual Grihastha Ashram is like a foundational brick in the structure. And if those bricks are crumbling, what's going to happen to your structure, your society? You're going to have a big problem, very big problem. And so we understand in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he expressed this concern to Krishna about the loss of family traditions. That was a big concern to Arjuna. Can we have the next slide? And this was actually studied by social anthropologists during the Roaring 20 eras, 1925 to early 1930s. This social anthropologist from Oxford, he began studying marriage and its effect on society. And he began his research with the premise that he was thinking marriage was irrelevant to society and actually a detriment. And for 8 years, he studied 86 different civilizations, past and present. And during his research, he had a 180-degree paradigm shift. He discovered that from his research that when marriage was very strong in a society, there would be a very high level of artistic and philosophical thought. And where marriage began to lose its importance, where monogamy was very much minimized, the artistic sense would be lost, philosophical thought would very much go down. And he observed that if the importance of marriage was diminished, very much lost over a period of 3 generations, the entire civilization would be lost. And so that preceded the decline of many great civilizations, the undermining of marriage. So marriage is extremely important part of society and extremely important to Varnashram and extremely important to the future success of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And can we have the next slide? It's you.
So we got together with some other individuals in North America, and we started developing and facilitating Grihasta courses, which we go around and share with others. And we're trying to work to get an online version. We also do mentoring and mentor training. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but one of our goals is to have every couple in ISKCON before marriage get a little bit of training. In order to do that, we have to train successful Grihastas how to work with others. We also have a website, VaishnavFamilyResources.org. We try to do booths and presentations at festivals to get out there. We have yearly Grihasta retreats, and we have been able to influence national and local policies on marriage and family.
In Canada,
And go ahead.
In Canada, we were able to convince to make a policy that if a couple wanted to become married in one of our temples, they would have to undergo a premarital mentorship first. So we've actually made that a part of the culture of getting married in Canada.
And we have a book, Heart and Soul Connection, a devotional guide to a marriage, service, and love. And it's available on Amazon, and we could have sold you some if we didn't forget to leave them at home. So, yes?
When our group started working together almost 11 years ago, we got together and we brainstormed a list of all the problems and challenges faced by Grihastas in ISKCON. And there was like flip chart papers all over the walls, like it was many problems. And we began to break those problems into different categories and then began to look, well, what maybe inappropriate paradigms created those problems? And what principles and values or maybe not properly were not properly applied or misunderstood that helped create those problems? And then we began to look at, well, what are the proper, healthy principles and values that would rectify those problems? So briefly, here are those 12 principles: alignment with Srila Prabhupada, spiritual growth and progress, spiritual equality and material difference, positive and realistic vision, mutual respect and appreciation, commitment and dedication, open and honest communications, personal and social responsibility, economic development and prosperity, focus on children's welfare, family love and affection, and regulated, balanced, and exemplary lifestyle. So what we do is we try to get couples or individuals who are looking to get married to examine what are healthy paradigms about marriage and what are unhealthy paradigms about marriage, and have them examine their own paradigms and decide for themselves, well, am I embracing healthy paradigms or unhealthy paradigms? And help them to realize that they have a choice, that they can embrace the paradigms they choose. And so if they see the value of living healthy paradigms based upon Krishna conscious principles, then their life can be, like Srila Prabhupada described in the first purpose of ISKCON, to correct the imbalance in values. So if we properly align our values, it can help align our paradigms in very healthy ways. And I was appreciating Harry Voloski of the example of the little boy smoking a cigarette. You rocked his paradigm. You just changed his, you just dropped it because you shook his paradigm. And so that's what we try to do, get devotees to examine their paradigms and make them healthy.
So as we were explaining, one of our first steps to try to get improvement in the marriage ashram is to give everybody the opportunity to get a little bit of training before marriage. So that's the big push that my husband and I are doing, is to try to get that happening. And so this is some of the importance of premarital education, that it helps couples to realize that their marriage is devotional service. What a novel idea. And the education focuses on giving couples the knowledge of what makes a relationship successful. And then we have them practice skills to improve in any areas that they may be lacking. It also teaches skills for healthy relationships within the entire family. And it has long-reaching outcomes that will promote a society of healthy relationships. And it's also proven to lower the divorce rate. When you've had premarital education, can lower the divorce rate by 30%. So in premarital education, we teach these various things: compatibility, expectation, conflict resolution, financial responsibility. They're all listed there for you. So we found that couples who underwent education before their wedding had a 30% higher marital success rate than those that did not. So that in itself is impetus. And while this may seem like a failure, the second one, that 2 to 5% of those counseled decide they're not compatible enough for the long haul. Better to figure it out before. And we called upon Mr. Barack Obama here. He was trying to push marital education in the whole of the U.S. And he also concurred that preliminary research shows that marital education workshops can make a real difference in helping married couples stay together and encouraging unmarried couples who are living together to form a more lasting bond, in other words, get married. And by expanding access to such services, it should be something that everybody can agree on. So 75% of weddings occur in a religious setting. That means we have a little bit of control over people getting premarital education. And that is by mandating it. If you want to get married in our temple, we suggest you take 5 1.5 hour sessions with an experienced couple before the marriage if you'd like to get married in one of our temples. And it doesn't cost that much. Even if you pay those people, pay a professional, costs very little. People spend so much on weddings, you can give a little donation to some couple to take their time, and it won't cost much. And couples who undergo premarital education, they're also more likely to ask and look for help later if they have difficulties. So how can we implement this strategy? One is by developing the culture within ISKCON. The other is to train successful couples to mentor new couples. As I was just saying, to mandate it before performing our yagyas, and to get priests on board. Because nowadays in ISKCON, it's kind of a profession to be a priest, and if you give me some money, I'll marry you. But if we get them on board too, right? So we would just like to give you our take home.
I'd just like to share with you one little feedback we've got, which was actually quite moving for us. We get a lot of feedback from people, the devotees we deal with, but there was a couple we dealt with in one country. They were on the verge of separating, and we did a few sessions with them, and then didn't see them for about 2 years. And then we were back in that country, and their elder daughter came to us, and she actually thanked us for helping her parents through their difficulty, and she said, "Thank you for saving my parents' marriage." And she said, "I have a younger sister, And she said previously every night she used to cry, afraid that their mom and dad were going to split up. And she was so thankful like that. So kind of gave us the strength to keep on going.
So we'd like you all to understand, maybe not you all, but most of us except for Mr. Prashak Swami here, understand the importance of nurturing your own marriage and supporting healthy marriages in ISKCON for the benefit of yourself, your family, the community, greater ISKCON, and society at large. And also, Grihastha ashrams are essential for the longevity and progress of Srila Prabhupada's mission. So we also need education about marriage on the school level. Put it in your curriculum, empathy education, relationship education. Before changing ashrams, people need a little bit of education. We need premarital education, marital education, societal education on the importance of marriage, so we don't preach wrong. And that way we have to also educate our preachers so we don't say the wrong things. And we'll leave you with this.
And we have resources on our website. I think I left everyone a card in front of your chair when you came in. If you didn't get one, I can give you one. We have all kinds of resources on there, brochures you can download and print. There's also the 12 principles and values unpacked with descriptions and also many quotes by Srila Prabhupada supporting those 12 principles and values. So thank you very much. So we're going to move up the ladder of Varnashram. We're going to get off the bottom step, and we're going to move up to Vanaprastha with Anantarupa Prabhu. We'll have question period after we're all three speaking.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanantam Dasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshram Tamyani Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. First of all, I really want to, probably my only chance, to thank Harivilas Prabhu, the Seattle Temple Maharaj, for this wonderful conclave. And it's first time, and I'm not feeling sorry if I didn't attend the other three. So thank you very much. How should I start? Okay, there you go. Just one thing, as far as your ashram goes, I was in the Delhi temple, and the Partharadi Mandir. It's full of brahmacharis. And anytime a grahast gives a class, and the morning programs, so on and so forth, all the brahmacharis, it's kind of smirk and they kind of smile. And so I think many of you know Sarvabhaum Prabhu, the big heavy set, yeah. So he got up there and he could sense that. And he said, before I start, I want to let all the brahmacharis know that the Grihastha ashram is the fountainhead or is the origin of all the other ashrams. After that, there was pin drop silence. So you're doing a great service. We need that. What happens after Grihastha? And so I really titled this Preparing for Vanaprastha Ashram and then utilizing Vanaprasthas. Okay. So Vanaprastha means going to the forest. Okay. So in fact, Prabhupada, I've taken these quotes, which is essential for all of us for sort of a guidance. Prabhupada is saying in different places that Vanaprastha means going to the forest. Now, the practical issue is, except maybe for Seattle, I mean, forests are not there anymore, okay? And so I found this interesting sort of quote by Prabhupada himself, and he's saying, actually, superior to living in the forest is living in the temple, okay? Because the temple is nirguna, above all the gunas, even sattva guna, the inhabitants of the temple are actually in Vaikuntha, okay? So that solves that issue that okay, if I'm Vanaprastha, I should not be in a temple, I should be roaming around in an RV, all the national parks. But that is not the case. Then what do you do in the temple? So what is the role of the Vanaprasthas? So one of the key roles, which I'm sort of going through the Vanaprastha stage myself, is we can find in the Bhagavad Gita 139, with the destruction of the dynasty, the family traditions are vanquished, and the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion, which is happening. And like Prabhu is saying, not only outside work, but within ISKCON. Yesterday, Harivilas Prabhu was talking about the culture. Who's going to maintain the traditions and culture? Okay. So Prabhupada is writing the purport that the elder members of the family are responsible for maintaining the traditions and culture. Okay, so that's where, because one thing that I see, I've been in ISKCON for many years, is our culture is being diluted. Okay, ISKCON is growing, leaps and bounds, 650 centers, 700 centers, absolutely. And as we are growing, the outside world, now ISKCON, we don't have to explain ourselves. People know Hare Krishnas, okay? But they're looking, and if you ask, typically, what I'm finding is when the outside image is that we're not professionals, okay? We don't deal with people equally or the way they expect us, okay? And then the last thing is we have all these centers we're very proud of, but when you come to the bottom line, except for Seattle, Mumbai, Mayapur, the big temples, most of the temples are run by few devotees who are always struggling. Okay, so underneath the numbers, there's a big problem if I look at it. Okay, so what did I do? Okay, and so part of why it's happening is there's an imbalance or shift in the varnashram system. If you take a look over here, how many brahmacharis we have? Except maybe one potential one right there. There are no brahmacharis. Okay? So that is an imbalance. Before, when you take a look at the Prabhupada times, the temple was full of brahmacharis. There was no issue about devotee power. Okay, you need manpower, women power. There's no issue with that, okay? Grihasthas, they are on the increase. ISKCON is becoming a Grihastha society, okay? But are they fully able to dedicate themselves to the temple? The 24/7 workload. In fact, I go to many interfaith conferences in Boise. They're small. And one of the questions that I always asked, this one lady asked, he said, we were sitting in a table, he said, so all of you, in this 24/7 work culture, what is happening to your clergy, to young people, to the congregation? Okay, are they really into spirituality? And that is it's a big issue. So Vanpras is also increasing, okay? But these people, these devotees, in some ways are looking for more engagement, okay? Sannyas, Maharaj can tell, but it's not exactly on the rise. It is stable or decreasing, okay? So where are we going to get people, resources to run these temples? And that's where I think the Vanpras come in, okay? So solution, one of the solutions, it's not, I don't have all of it, is to educate and utilize Vanprasthas, okay? One is using the services of underutilized Vanpras, making use of the collective wisdom. Wisdom comes with age, with experience. Brahmacharis are no longer there, okay? Grihasthas are busy, okay? Who's going to teach them? So it comes with age, with experience, okay? Now, we are using Vanpras, like, so somebody told me in Delhi, Prabhuji, yes, I could, my duty is to take the Aarti flame around, in the morning, Mangala Aarti and after Aarti, so everyone could take Aarti and or put the water on everyone's head and take the flowers around. I was doing that this morning for the Mangala Aarti. So that's what we can do more. Okay, we can do more. I mean, in Boise Temple, those functions are done by children to get them to do this. But we can do more. Did I do this? Yeah. So the so the growing pool of talent can be a valuable resource. Let's see. Did I miss a slide? Okay, I'm just okay. Yeah, I'm okay. Okay, 40 to 50%, I would say, of our devotees are in the Vanprastha stage, or senior grahastha, if you want to call Vanprastha. Okay? They come from all walks of life. Besides practical spirituality, because they've seen it all, they have experiences in corporate, government, education, engineering, legal, and business affairs. And after spending years of grahastha life and dovetailing and balancing professional and spiritual lives, I think most of them are ready to dedicate 100% to serving ISKCON and Srila Prabhupada. Okay? They can do what one thing that lacks and is coming out even in the Shastric study is really practical preaching, practical education. There's a whole bunch of devotees I see, they can quote Shastras, they can quote shlokas left and right, upside and downside. But how do you apply that to running efficiently and educating others? That's where I think corporate preaching and grahastha counseling, not to underdo what Prabhus are doing, but we need more of those. Okay? So brahmacharis and sannyasis in Delhi temple, I can tell you, I do this liberal counseling, and the families come and say, you know, Prabhuji, they assigned me a brahmachari. It's full of brahmacharis, and honestly, he does not know what the issues are. Okay, sannyasis many times don't want to deal with those, so where do you go for counseling? Huh? Okay, so the proposal is that I think recognizing this, we should educate, refresh, and rejuvenate our Vanprastha. Okay, we can use their services. Okay, so what I'm saying is, it is easy to find devotees. If it is easy to hire professionals from outside, but where do you go for the combination? Okay, and it is not easy to find professional devotees who can volunteer their professional services, and I think that's where we can utilize this segment. And how you do that, you build a network, or same thing, ministry, so on and so forth. We can start a ministry within the existing ministry, grahasthas, okay, or build another pool. We have to design a training program. Even we need training. So it's the train the trainer programs. Just refreshing as to, you know, they are one good segment to really take the Bhakti Shastri, so on and so forth. All right? I think I'm done. I get the hint, all right? Okay, in the outside world, it is happening. You probably heard of this thing, ARP. They do this all the time. Anyone who's over 50, you can sign up for that. Seniors helping seniors, and also the SCORE. This is actually a society that the retired executives, they go out, okay, and again, it serves the purpose of traveling. Go there, you get free meals, accommodation, and then you can do project management. I think I'm going to stop here, and questions later. Yes?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Now, we'll ask His Holiness Hanumat Prashek Maharaj to enlighten us about the sannyas ashram.
Yeah, he's switching.
Prabhupada ki jai. North American Symposium on Education, Varna Ashram Education. I also been tossing in brahmacharya a little bit too here. Okay. And I get the control panel here. There we go. This is from the instructions by Bhishma Dev to Yudhisthira, the purport. Prabhupada says, the conception of 4 castes and orders of life as planned by the Lord himself is to accelerate transcendental qualities of the person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and thus act accordingly to get free from material bondage or conditional life. So Varnashram Dharma, another way, is that psychosocial system which accelerates the development of the spiritual qualities. Bhagavad Dharma is a seed. You're going to get mangoes out of this. But you have to have nice soil. You have to have nice water. You have to have nice sunlight. You've got to have protection. That's Varnashram. You can have nice soil, nice sunlight, nice everything else. You haven't got a seed. You can have nice sunlight, nice, yeah. So the two are connected very intimately like that. If your Bhagavad Dharma is strong enough, you don't need Varnashram. You can just do anything whatsoever because the soul is so powerful. But usually we need, from the very beginning, you might even say Varnashram is more important than Bhagavad Dharma when little seed is growing like that. So this is the fundamental principle we're talking about. Varna ashram is that psychosocial system which accelerates the development of the spiritual qualities. It makes Bhagavad Dharma alive. Okay. And what kind of resources do we have on this? Okay. Books. We mentioned this before. We have Vishnudev's instructions, 119, 26 to 27. And of course, this Prabhupada is extracting this from the Shanti Parva. It's interesting. The Ganguly translation is 135 pages. So we have tremendous resources available. Again, those two verses, two purports by Srila Prabhupada, we've used them several times as independent manuals, and you just go through them like that for university classes and everything else. So many things. Beginning, we had our brahmacharya ashrams, or our schools, our gurukulas, and we assume that everybody who's born in ISKCON is automatically a Paramahamsa and is going to become a great devotee. Some of the kids were demons. Okay, you can be a demon, it's okay. Yeah. So Prabhupada says brahmacharya ashram is for the attached and detached, for both. This kid's a demon, okay, we'll teach him how to become a lawyer, right? Now he can become a demon and not cause problems in society, okay? This kid, okay. So we want to train everybody. Everybody's welcome in our schools. But we didn't understand that. That one sentence, if we'd understood it, we had such a big difference in our whole primary school program and how it developed like that. Otherwise, it was terrible. Kids were being forced to become pure devotees, and they weren't. And they were just terrible things going on. Okay. So those two purports are incredible. Put them right in the center of your Varna ashram education, reading like that. People ask you, what is the role of women in your society? Prabhupada says there, women as a source of inspiration for men are more powerful than men. Therefore, such powerful ladies have to learn how to control this power by chastity and shyness. That's it, one sentence. I've seen that with feminist women. They all kind of go, food, Prabhupada's words, food for thought. Yeah, women as a source of women as a source of inspiration for men are more powerful than men. Therefore, such powerful women have to learn how to control this by chastity and shyness. Behind every good man is, behind every bad man, bad woman. Yeah. This is reality. We're looking behind it now. Yeah. Therefore, all the problems in ISKCON can be traced to the women. Yep, and all the successes too. Yep. This is practical political science. This is how it works. Okay, what else we got? Canto 7, we're mentioning it before. There's chapter after chapter after chapter. One place in there, Prabhupada is discussing brahmacharya ashram and how it goes on like that. It's being discussed in the text and the purports. Prabhupada gave a series of lectures on those in Bombay, over 2 weeks. And he was taking his own purports and making commentaries on his own purports, saying, this is not practical now. We should do this, we should do that, we should do that. That should be published as a separate little booklet and on discussions like that. So much resource we have from Prabhupada's books. We don't have to go to other sources. If we have Prabhupada's books, we can go to other sources and take them, because there is knowledge there, so much. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, again, in its entirety is I would say, basically Daivi Varna Ashram Dharma, going one thing after another, giving stories to illustrate all these principles like that. So we study, we're quoting is that Hansaduta told us that Prabhupada said, every single psychological circumstance you can encounter is in Srimad Bhagavatam. You'll see Chaivana and Sukanya. You'll see Daksha. Daksha was a great Sankirtan devotee doing a sacrifice. He was appointed temple president by the GBC. His daughter was a Gurukuli. She was married to the Food for Life guy. And one Sunday feast, the whole thing broke out. And she set herself on fire with gasoline from the lawnmower. Okay, like that. Jai, Haribol. Yeah. It's all there. Yeah. If we take these to heart, And we're seeing, yeah, that's what's going on. That's the archetype. That's the story. So Srimad Bhagavatam is incredible education in Varna ashram taken into spiritual life. And then Bhaktivedanta Library, all these books. We have Prabhupada's letters, room conversations, unlimited resources if you start extracting them for this perspective. Dharma Shastras. In the instructions to Bhishma Dev, Prabhupada says, the Brahmanas should know the scriptures and the Shastras. Now this is where I would be a little bit of conflict here with Harivilas, right? Some people, other people too, I would say some people are qualified to sit in the classroom and take advantage of it. And they can be useful in society then. And they become counselors for other people like that. Arjuna understood everything in a classroom situation. Krishna and Arjuna were in a classroom. They had a class with the gun in their face. Then after this class, he took it up. Maharaj Parikshit is also a classroom situation like that. This is a good point for discussion like that. But some people, it's interesting too because the word academy, the original Greek academies, you know this, right? They were action places. You learn drama, you learn sports, all these things like that. It became this gyan, mental speculation, and that's what we're trying to avoid. It should not just be mental speculation, but application. Personally, I am Shudra, Brahmana, Brahmana, Brahmana. I just can't live without doing PowerPoint shows. I have my own garden, but I always naturally wake up in the morning, all this kind of stuff. So finding our position, our body, our mind, our psyche. And some people, Shudra, okay, you go through 6th grade. 6th grade, you go right into trade school, everything else. Vaishya, 2 more years middle school, you learn some geography, some more advanced mathematics. If you go to West Point, you get a bachelor's degree, but your mathematics is in artillery shells and your history is in war and everything else. Yeah? Brahmana, okay, go on a little bit farther and so on. So it's a discussion of different kinds of people in different situations. So Prabhupada says the Brahmanas should know Manu Samhita, Parashara Dharma Shastra. Maharaj Yudhishthira would travel with 12 Brahmins. At any moment, he could get advice from them. You know, how's this work? What's the thing going to work at? So Parashara Dharma Shastra is translated in English, Manu Samhita. I went up to Berkeley Library trying to find a copy. They have over 1 million books, University of California. In the end, there were 5 librarians working on this, trying to find their copy. It was make my day. Finally, one of them was screaming, I got it, I got it. There's a little old wooden cabinet. She pulled it out. There was a card. It was in the law library in the Berkeley campus. I went over there. It was in the 2nd basement. There was one bookcase on Hindu law. I pulled the thing out, 1896, Asiatic Society. The second I did that, this door opened in the cement wall. This guy kind of walked out. Professor guy locked it up. And he said, kind of with a German accent, he said, oh, do you read Sanskrit? I said, a little. He said, so do I. So anyway, so many practical things. Should we have remarriage? Is remarriage permissible in our society? Can a girl get married a 2nd time in our society? Okay, Parashara specifically gives indications like that. What's practical, what's not practical. And I've had experience, it works. I've heard Prabhupada in classes paraphrasing this. Gives very practical application things there. Yeah, I'll go on. So I can't go a full thing here, but we have these tremendous resources. And of course, Hitopadesh and Panchatantra, incredible resources. And then Chanaka Shlok. So we're not lacking in a really good basis of scriptural basis for what we want to do, studying them, applying them, and everything else. Chanaka Pandit says, 3 things go to a rapid destruction. Trees on the bank of a river, right? They get washed away. A woman in the house of some man other than her husband, she goes to a rapid destruction. And kings without counselors. These 3 quickly rapid. You know, very, you see these, yeah, this is practical. Chanaka Pandit says, it's very rare to find a poor man who is completely honest and a beautiful young girl who's completely chaste. Yes, yeah. Very, very practical knowledge, deep. Okay, so other books, resources. Oh my God, I'm losing control of my mind here. Okay, there you go, okay, yeah. Yadunandan Swami, he was working, of course, with the Bhaktivedanta College and had been very much involved in education for a long time, very much. For his master's thesis, combining these things, he did a study on sannyas in ISKCON, a very effective study. The book is published, it's called Sannyas in Modernity, and it's not available to Amazon. I tried to get a hold of it. He gave me a copy, and I went through it a little bit. It's very good. He goes through the historical perspective of sannyas in general, sannyas in our tradition. Then he interviewed, I guess, I don't know, maybe like 130 sannyasis and stuff, through the whole history, those who had left the ashram and everybody else. And I think there's almost very, 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 very few Indian sannyasis who've left the ashram. like that. And maybe very few, maybe like 3 or something, you know. In the West were others who took it at a very young age, and Prabhupada even says, this is not surprising, I kind of expected this. But some people would make it, and so we had to do it because it was necessary ashram. You know. Many times people left sannyasam in the beginning, not because of lust, but because of boredom. There's nothing to do. You give a class in the morning, sit in your room all day, and read the Holy Scriptures. It's like Harivalasa is saying, you've got to be practical engagement. Anantarupa was quoting his Grihastha ashram. He got me on the phone when we were in Houston. By the end of the whole session, my ear was aching. It was 45 minutes. We were discussing the whole thing. What am I going to do? Preach. You know? Where? Come with me to South America. We'll go traveling. Okay? What am I going to preach about? You had a totally effective temple. You made so many people like that. You didn't become an alcoholic like all your other Indian associates like that. So he did a really incredible slideshow. Then his son Gopal decided he wanted to come along. The mother Aruda wanted to come along. So we were the traveling, Grihastha team everywhere. Ambassadors of India appreciated it. Devotees had them give the classes twice. Everything else, very effective. So there's a lot to do, but it's a matter of learning how to be effective in sannyas ashram, what it means, what to be engaged. Okay, so you ought to know, Mars' book is incredible. I'll tell you one story here. Ladies, you kind of cover yours maybe. not exactly. What's his name? Guru Kripa? Guru Kripa Swami, right? He's a heavy Swami. Because Yadananda Swami would ask people like the histories, and he would change the names. Swami XYZ, said this and that. So Guru Kripa was talking about all the bad things people had done in the ISKCON sannyasa ashram. So Yadananda Swami said, well, of course, I won't use your name. Use your name. And Guru Kripa Swami said, I'm like a dog. When I piss, I want people to know who did it. Put my name there. Okay, so that's sannyasa ashram, the naked truth. Okay, very good book, very good resource, because he goes through and looks at what happened very, very clearly and how we can go ahead and make changes and stuff. Okay. Now this is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.6.13, Narada Muni's description. It's a very key verse in terms of this whole ashram thing. Narada is describing his sannyas, seeing owls and forest animals and all this kind of stuff. Prabhupada says, it is the duty of a mendicant, Parivrajacacharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants of the message of God. I saw myself when I took sannyas. It was Kudichak. I was living outside the temple. Parivrajacacharya, sometimes in the Berkeley temple, sometimes under the trees, sometimes arguing with Harivalasa, sometimes in Sacramento. And I started just going around my neighborhood and stuff like that, And then finally, I just took off sometime. I got $20 donation from Rasaraj. I had no more money. Somebody wanted a car delivered, and that's okay. Krishna will protect me. Went all the way up to Vancouver, all the way back down. And after that, I never stopped again. We were supposed to go to South America. I had $150. Okay, but I was going to save that because I went to a foreign country. So I went in and used my credit card for the ticket. My credit card had been blocked because somebody had given me a bad check. I asked him how much the fare was. It was $450. I had $470. So I gave him $470. I had $20 to leave for a foreign country, right? Yeah. But by that time I was beginning to feel Jitatmana prasantasya paramatma samahita. Krishna's there. You begin to really distinguish the super soul. It exists. Okay, I've got $20. There's no fees at the airport. There's no fees at the airport. Okay. Leading somebody gave me $20 more. Okay. So I went to the airport. I had $40 now. Okay. I got in line. The guy said there's a fee. What's the fee? $35. Krishna, you can't do this to me. I'm trying to show you. Your job is to travel and preach. My job is to take care of you. You trust me? Oh, yeah, I trust you. Okay. So we hopped off. Okay. So you're traveling. It's natural. Kudichak, Bahudak, Parivrajak, and I guess Hamsa. Okay. It's a natural thing. Sannyas duty-bound to take, sannyas is duty-bound to take all these risks without fear, and the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal sannyas. Same as Anantarupa's making this point. We don't go live in the forest. You ever figure out how you're supposed to dress yourself in tree bark? This works where you have banana trees. If you ever look at banana trees and things like that, there's actually a natural woven cloth there course, maybe a little rough, like that and so on. Yeah, okay. One should, however, take a vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only a formality. So some perspective of what we're talking about in sannyas in the modern world and so on. Yeah. This, of course, is a tremendous topic. You know. Okay. Okay, finally, there is a ministry of sannyasa services which has been effective and existing for a long time, and Prahladananda Swami is the director. It's actually harder to become a sannyasi in ISKCON than it is to become a guru. You know, it's preliminary testing, traveling, everything else, so forth, so on. It's actually becoming a pretty effective program, the levels like that and so on. Yeah? It's a difficult thing to establish. So if you're interested, you can find out about taking sannyas and everything else like that. How many men here are going to take sannyas? Raise your hand there. Nobody? I recommend it. It's usually good. Yeah. To finally be able to see your wife as a spiritual being. There's always a little deep, subtle attachment. And then finally, okay. Okay, Gurukula. We have Gurukulas in the United States. Is there any Gurukula in the United States now? Any Gurukulas in the U.S.? People, full residential Gurukulas? Full residential. Living there full-time with the Guru. I don't think in the U.S. we have any now, like that and stuff. In India, there's some going on. In India also, Denver, for example, is a very, very healthy brahmachari community like that. But these are adult brahmacharis and so on. So some places there are different temples that have different characters, different people that are fostering different kinds of things. So it's still going on. There's some training and existence as brahmacharis and then going right into sannyas life like that and so on. So it's there. The seeds are there. Calcutta, a temple, I travel a lot in India. Calcutta's example, for example, maybe 50, 60 brahmacharis living in the temple, lifelong. I think the city had said anybody makes it for 5 years is pretty much, they just go on like the whole life like that. And they have their challenges and everything else. Mangal Artik, there's, packed all the way to the back, maybe 50, 60, 70 brahmacharis. There's a place on the side for the ladies, maybe two to three ladies there for, a temple like that and so on. So in India, there's, of course, very much more natural situation, for brahmacharya ashrama developing and so on. But it does exist, and brahmacharya ashram, of course, is the basis for healthy grihastha ashram, healthy vanaprastha ashram, and finally, healthy sannyas ashram. Okay, a little summary. That's it, I think. Okay, how I did that one. What's happening here? It's going backwards. Anyway, okay, that's the last slide. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm struggling in my head what to do because there are questions and the session is not complete without the questions. We've almost hit the hard stop for this session, but we must take some questions. Shesha Prabhu, you had some questions. So for the future sessions, I have a request. If you want to make your session complete, please leave some time for questions. That's just a request to all the other presenters who would present eventually. Shesha Prabhu.
I have questions for all three presenters on this topic. And I appreciate that you did it together because I do think that it's a system, it's a package, and one can't be separated from the other. So that's the first point. But for our Grihastha Vision team, is the dynamic is the dynamic the same with a non-devotional premarital course and a devotee premarital course? Or are there some special challenges about Krishna consciousness that have to be dealt with?
In one sense, the skills you teach are the same, especially communication. But the advantage we have is that the communication skill that we're teaching is based upon Srila Rupa Goswami's loving exchange of revealing your mind and heart in confidence and hearing in confidence. And that's loving devotional service, and that's a very wonderful thing Grihasthas can learn to do. And it can very much help to minimize and solve most of their problems, because when you engage in devotional service, the ocean material existence shrinks to the amount of water in a hoof print of a calf. So even a couple can have great differences, but if they can learn to respectfully and appreciatively and compassionately communicate their understandings to each other, the problems become very much minimized. So in one sense, some of the skills we teach are the same as the secular world, but because the one is in front, Krishna, it's very advantageous.
So just the understanding that marriage is devotional service is a big eye-opener for a person who's been a long time in the brahmacharya ashram or who's had other kind of preaching. And then we have, you know, a few regulative principles to navigate.
Now, as part of the course, do you like say that one day you'll take sannyas, or do you just don't go there? You let them get there naturally, or I mean, do you present the whole as a whole package? You know.
We don't present as a package. Specifically, we're dealing with grihastas and their challenges, and a lot of couples are challenged, and also with premarital, it's the focus is just giving them a realistic expectation of their marriage. So we don't deal with the other ashrams within our courses.
Thank you. I don't want to take up. As I said, I have questions. I don't want to take up somebody else has questions. You can go.
Hare Krishna. I was just thinking that in one of the slides you said education needed at all levels. Have you ever thought about integrating that in the school level, primary school or secondary school level? Because it is something that nowadays government is promoting sex education at school level. So why not, these types of education at our own schools?
In our community, whenever the kids get to be about 13 or 14, we give them a course 1 or 2 times before they graduate on how not to marry a jerk. Just relationship skills, how to not get in wrong situations, wrong relationships, because whoever you marry is going to determine the course of your whole life. And younger than that, I believe that in your values education, we need to strongly introduce empathy and kindness, because that really goes a long way to making human beings that are easy to live with later on, both in our marriages and in our communities. So I would really encourage you start from a young age, empathy education. And I noticed that was mentioned by Harivilas Prabhu and things like that in your values, just to start with values education.
Thank you. I have a question from Vishwambar Prabhu, who heard the whole session online. So I'll read out his question. Really liked their approach. I teach a personal finance course for grade 9 and 10 via curriculum provided by Dave Ramsey organization. Wondering about their thoughts on developing a course for adolescent-aged kids. I think you just spoke on that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
For the Vanaprastha presentation, Anantar Prabhu, you talk about being engaged at the temples for the Vanaprastha, but I mean, are the activities of our temple conducive to actually engaging Vanaprasthas? I mean, Harivilas is mentioning Sankirtan, going on in Sankirtan, or the heavy demands of daily deity worship. I mean, Vanaprasthas are going to be older. Are they actually going to be, is it really a good source of labor, so to speak, for Vanaprasthas to fit?
Yeah, I know. But the only thing that, using me as an example, is I cannot run, but I still walk very nicely. And so, to me, deity worship actually requires one not to hurry. And deity worships, actually in India, I've seen temples and all the purohits, they are sort of vanpras. They have the time, they understand the importance. I think vanpras will be great for the deity worship. Now, they cannot do 10 hours of it, but if you have 2 of them, and it can be shared, and we're sort of doing that in Boise Temple, that at least 2 out of the 3 pujaris are vanpras. And for other activities, and the other place where I see vanpras is really, they've seen it all. So when there's a crisis, they can handle it better because the world or the temple is not coming to an end, there's a solution, and they can handle the stress better than the brahmacharis or the grihasthas.
Okay, and then why not Gurukula teacher as as a job for
Yeah.
Vanaprastha?
Oh yeah. I was rushed to, but yeah, I have that in my slide. Like we need teachers, and Vanaprastha will be great teachers. In fact, that was the Gurukul model, that the guru is mature, senior, is full of wisdom, and for the lack of sannyasis, I think the Vanaprastha will be great teachers.
And I guess Maharaj is gone, but my question for him, I guess is a question for everybody, is, and I kind of know the answer to this already, but is he talking about real sannyas or like the exaggerated version of it that we've seen fail on ISKCON? What sannyas is he talking about?
He's back.
We have a break, Maharaj, for 10 minutes. We can go ahead.
So are you talking about in your presentation actual sannyas or the exaggerated version that we've seen practiced in ISKCON for the last 40 years? The version that has a lot of people leaving the ashram after taking it.
Okay, but here's the point, because the people leaving the ashram, boy, since we got, changed it to 50 years old and all that kind of stuff, I think it's been dropped enormously in terms of the number of people. I mean, just enormously. Just like night and day, the number of people who actually left now. Almost all the people who left were people who took sannyas at a very young age like that and so on. Look at it. And of course, the Indian side, again, is, not again, very, very few. So one thing to consider, that most people left it because Prabhupada here's your field commission, you're a lieutenant, go out there and lead those men, And so there were a lot of field commissions at that time with people who were not, and the Prabhupada says in the purport of Gajendra, right? We can see these people are not fit, so they should go back, and like that and so on. Yeah. So what talking about sannyas and ISKCON, because it's going on now. There are many, many people every year. How many people are being initiated at Mayapur? About 5, 6 at least.
Sannyas and ISKCON, I don't know how much it's taught as opposed to desired by devotees. Now, I think there needs to be some teaching about what is sannyas, what's the purpose of sannyas. Maybe they don't need to teach it in their Grihastha Vision course, their premarital counseling course, but it's somewhere along the line there has to be some. I mean, if you want even every Prabhupada disciple to take sannyas, I think you're going to have to provide some kind of education beyond what's there in the books and everything already. Some course or something.
That exists.
Why?
That exists.
It does.
Yeah. It's done twice a year, I think, now. Beyond that, of course, it should be started. I mean, it's the whole point, that the trajectory should be there. The stories are there with Narada Muni, everything else. That the Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the purpose of Grihastha Ashram is to prepare for Vanaprastha Ashram. So the purpose is going back to Godhead. So if you look at that, then I agree. It should be indicated, the whole package deal as we're talking about is your life. Well, it's nice, it's happy for everybody, and then we're going to go play with Krishna. So it should be integrated in the whole thing, and also beyond that specifically, then there is sannyas college or something like that, which I think is mandatory for all people who are going to take sannyas, and it's highly recommended for anybody who is sannyas ashram to deal with all these kind of situations like that.
Hare Krishna. So, like to thank His Grace Partha Prabhu, Grace Uttama Mataji, Anantarupa Prabhu, and Maharaj for the session, and also for your participation. Before we take a break, few logistic questions. It was decided yesterday that the visit to the school shall be conducted today, and the farm visit is moved to tomorrow afternoon. There is a proposed schedule for the Vaishnavas here, which is that we break around 12:40 finally from this session, and at that time lunch will be served, for about half an hour. Then the devotees at the temple have very kindly organized. I discussed with Namravata Prabhu. They've organized for the visit to the school. So the buses or the cars will take you to the school at around 1:10 as soon as you finish prasadam. And then after the visit, the cars will drop you directly at where you're residing or taking rest or doing your service in the afternoon. And what we are proposing is that because of this time that is taken for the school visit, we will start the afternoon schedule half an hour later. So instead of starting at 3 o'clock, the afternoon session will start at 3:30, 3:30. It will go on till 7. Then devotees can participate from 7 to 7:30 in the Sandhya Arati program. And after Sandhya Arati program, then there's a celebration as well as prasadam. So that's the revised schedule. If all the Vaishnavas are okay with that, that's the proposed schedule. All right, so I hear no objections. I believe everybody's fine with the schedule. So you will be taken to your place of where you're residing, but after that you have to be back at 3:30 sharp here for the next session, which is the breakout session, and we'll debrief you on how that will proceed. So now we'll take a 10 minutes break for Gayatri, and for other reasons we'll take a 10 minutes break and then come back with for a session with Arudha Mataji as well as Vishwambar Prabhu. Hare Krishna.